Crank up the music. Keep an eye on the back.
This presentation is provided to you to amuse or entertain and not to conform or inform. The content on this channel should not be used to replace professional, financial, medical, or legal advice. All footage taken and used from public sources falls under the Fair Use of the Digital Millennial Copyright Act of 1998. Therefore, no breach of privacy or copyright has been committed. This show is substantially sourced, not affiliated with any community, club, fraternity, or gang. Your cat may vary. Dave's sitting at his office on a normal day at work when suddenly the door gets kicked open and a bear walks in and says, "We're out of coffee." Turns around, slams the door, and leaves. Dave's like, "That's so weird. Was that a prank? I don't understand what's going on." And then he goes to the break room, and sure enough, no coffee. Well, he gets done with that day, and he just figures he'll let it go. The next day, he goes into work. Sure as heck, the door gets kicked open. Here's this bear again. And he says, "The AC's going out." Turns around, leaves, and slams the door. And then, of course, the AC goes out, and Dave has a terrible day. It's hot, and he's sweaty, and he's just miserable. So he goes home. The next day, he goes into work. All of a sudden, bam, his door gets kicked open again. Same bear says, "You're getting laid off today." Turns around and leaves. Well, now Dave's just had it. He storms over to the manager's office, and he opens the door, and he goes, "What is going on? I was just told I'm getting laid off." And the manager says, "Oh, my goodness. I was going to tell you later today. But yeah, you are. And can I ask you who told you?" He said, "Who told me?" He said, "There's this bear that's come to my door every day for the last 3 days. Who the heck is this?" And the guy goes, "Oh, yeah, he's new around here. He's the bear of bad news." The bearer of bad news.
flight tracking continues.
Wow. Wow. Man, that joke and that intro is so long. My coffee, I almost finished it all. But hey, it's getting harder and harder to find clean jokes that I already haven't told. Hang on a second. Clickety click. There you are. Hey, everybody. Whoop, whoop. We made it again. Another Friday night. Again, I don't know what we did other than stay on the right side of the grass. So, that's a win, right? Where's my guy?
That's very true.
And as you see, I'm flying solo tonight. It's just been real busy here at the Fan Man household. And so I'm flying by the seat of my pants. I put shows together in and around things to do. And so I should have plenty to talk about. I always do. And I even got one. I even have a Sarah video for you all and what we did as far as our homesteading. And so, if I ever did decide to just leave all this whole nonsense behind, just do maybe a homesteading channel and have Sarah have her own channel, maybe. So we'll see. But then again, I understand why everyone's here because we all have nowhere to go.
I got nowhere else to go. I got nowhere else to go.
Richard Gere who, right? Exactly. So, where are we at tonight? Lots been going on, and things obviously weird stuff in the news. We can hit on some of that, and the whole premise, the thumbnail. In case you're wondering what this all is, here, let me take myself out. Okay, so when I was growing up, Star Trek was a huge influence in my life, and that guy, I think, what's Gus LaForge? No, what's his real name? LeVar Burton. LeVar Burton played that character in Star Wars. But before that, or during that, I don't know. Yeah, before that, he did this whole thing, and I think it was just past, like, I think my kids were starting to maybe get into it, but it was just right on the cusp when we were getting out of childhood, and then when the next generation were coming. It was called Reading Rainbow. I don't know how long he did it for, but that was actually a clip from the actual show. There's all the Illuminati tiles on the bottom and stuff. And so anyways, that's what all that means. So how will I tie all that together? Well, I guess we'll wait and see. So, all right. So let's see. Where are we at here? Wow. We got Illuminati confirmed 66 people here. Thank you all for showing up. Please, if you're enjoying yourselves, make sure you don't forget to hit like, share, subscribe, comment. And then if you feel so inclined at the end, whatever, there is a place for Cash App donations. And and I do want to thank my Patreon people. I want to thank them for being there all this time, because I basically had 3. One just dropped off, so I have 2. And I have never promised nor really done anything. They just really sweet that they are still Patreon. And that's an easy way if you want to just throw a few shekels and then if you forget, then you'll continue to do it. So that helps me. No. But that's another way that you can help if you want to do that. So, but Sharpest Blade and Faye, thank you for still being there, even though I put no new content. Now they'll probably hear this and then dump off. But anyways, now, and Heather over on Rockfin, God bless you. Always, I know when she watches the video, she's always there. And let's see. And then on Cash App, my goodness, we had all kinds. And I want to just thank real quick, and then I'll get this all out of the way, because I'm not really used to this kind of technology, but also this showing. So Lisa and Jason and Sam and David, and thank you very much. So, okay, now on with the shoe. So I do occasionally put I put on some other shows, and my wife does sometimes in the background. And so I hear and listen to different things going on. And so there's one thing that I do want to address. We'll start right here. Clickety click. We'll go here. And let's see this one and that one. And let's see, where is it? It's right there. And I want to go here. Okay. So, and I know my partners are in the chat too. So, I don't personally like to talk in absolutes on any subject. The only thing I'll call absolute so far is this. And I think they even spelled it wrong. So I'm not absolutely sure that this is absolute. But in any case, a lot of channels are talking absolutes on things. And so one of the things that I discuss with Janet Chapu that are here is the fact that we can see God's wrath throughout the plane that we live on. And so we see melted buildings everywhere. But that doesn't mean I'm using an absolute there. That doesn't mean that I don't see, still to this day, this Devil's Tower as a giant tree stump. That's how I see it. And when you look at like, it's just so out of place. And do I believe that there could have been a gigantic tree at the top of this that blocked out a good portion of the sky? Absolutely, in my mind, because we're limiting ourselves to what we experience. And so, like, for instance, there's people watching right now that maybe have never left their state. There's people that maybe have never left their country. There's people that have maybe what's left? Space? That's fake. But there's people that you haven't traveled to the different areas. And those are the areas that we know of. All of these different channels, including myself, we talk about that there's most likely more to Earth than we're shown. The Bible talks about it. There's areas we can't go to. I believe that's where the saints, I personally think the saints and Jesus and whoever was like given the glorified bodies in the 1,000-year reign, because I believe that happened. They're back in Eden, because you can only be in Eden in a glorified body. And in the end times, the saints get surrounded, and they can only get surrounded if they're still here on Earth. So I don't believe they're floating in space or somewhere in Earth, because that wouldn't make sense. So I believe they're probably in Eden, maybe center north over under God's throne. And there's angels that protect it and kill you if you try to get in there. And so, but I also believe we're in like some kind of outer prison. And then there's potentially even more outside of that, like the people that try to go outside the south ice wall and things like that. And so we don't personally know, and we never will, where exactly what we live on, what it looks like, and how far we can go. And so back in the day, when you talk about in the biblical days, we're dealing with Moses and some of these people that were Noah that lived, 400 years or so. Some of these people, 500 years, I don't know. They were also larger. And also don't forget the Nephilim, the giants, they were huge. And so I truly believe that there were giant trees because there was no rain in the days of Noah. That's why everyone's laughing at him, because the water just came out of the ground through the fresh springs, written again in the Bible. And so if there's no rain, that would make sense. The trees could hide, shade that or whatever. It doesn't matter. And the sun, absolutely the sun can get through. I have no question. Just because there's this one giant tree didn't mean the whole earth was covered with these. And where did the parts of the tree go? Again, we weren't there and we'll never know. Who knows? I've seen some trees in the fossilized tree forest. You can see like gigantic pieces, not the little pieces they show you and say these are fossilized trees. When you do like some Google map imagery, if it's real, when you do that Google Earth, you'll see not just I can't say it, Jen. If you're the Lichtenstein or whatever, the electronic things through it, you'll see that. And Lichtenstein pattern, something like that. And but you'll also see areas that look like fallen trees and stuff. So, and don't forget lies in television and truth in movies. So, Avatar, giant trees, and don't forget God talks about some pretty special trees on Earth. You got the tree of life, you got the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So, do I think it's out of the realm that there was giant trees? Absolutely not. I believe this one potentially is, because when the other narrative you go with, if you still live on the ball and you believe that things are growing out of the ground as geodes and crystals, then you got to have it come from somewhere. And so then there you go. That's how they show it. Comes up from the magma of the molten core. And I don't believe we're on that anymore. There's no evidence of that. So the theory is your magma from the molten core came up and created this. I'm not buying into that. When I see these columns, the jointing and stuff, you can find these things very similar to trees, and this does look like a tree stump to me. So does that mean I think everything I see in the world is a tree stump? No. Does that mean everything I see in the world is a melted building? No. I mean, I understand a crystal can grow. I understand a giant tree can form, I believe. So there's no absolutes. Like I said, even the absolute vodka is spelled wrong. And so I just wanted to make it clear where I stand, regardless of what is being said, because I don't believe in absolutes of anything. And so having said that, let's see, let me get off of this. And so that's just my opinion. But again, this is why you came here, I guess, to see this show. So, but yes, okay. So where are we at here? Oh my goodness, there's a lot in the chat. You guys are chatted up. Okay, so there we go. All right. So let's see, where are we at? Oh, hi, Aaron. Aaron, my friend Aaron. Okay, so let's see. Let me go over here. And I don't know. So, my wife's going to cut my hair. I'm getting that Nicolas Cage look, I think. That one where you guys know what I'm talking about? No, nobody knows what I'm talking about. Let's see here. I'll bring it up so you guys know what I'm talking about, because it's so important. Oh, shoot. I got to fill 2 hours at least. This guy. Yeah. He and I are looking so much alike now, right? Okay. Enough of that nonsense. All right. Let's get rid of that. I don't want to see that pop up again by accident. Okay. So move this. That's got to go over here. Sorry. I'm doing housekeeping while you guys are on the show. I apologize. Housekeeping? Okay. What can we do here? Let's see. Oh, Melanie just showed up? For reals? Okay. She's usually in charge of tardiness, and now look at, she's just showing up.
I don't feel tardy.
Yeah, I bet you don't. You're so tardy, I'm almost completely out of coffee. And I saw some people bought the mugs. That's sweet of you. If you did order it right after that last show, let me know, because I don't know if I can get show notes to you. Okay, let's see what's next. Yeah, I know. I already played that. We had nowhere else to go. So, okay. Let's see. And there's a lot of new names and faces, and thank you for checking it out. I hope to fulfill whatever the dreams that you expected this show to do, and maybe you'll be back for another episode. Okay, so let's see. Let me get on to clear some of these tabs. That's always a good way to start. Let's see. Oh, I know what I can do too. Let me start with this. Jen just sent me this. Where is it? And I thought it was really my wife and I were just talking about this the other day. And I'm not saying, look, I'm definitely not the height of fashion, okay? I put on a clean t-shirt tonight. That's all I did. But there's like a whole group of people that just don't seem to be trying anymore. They've just like given up. And I don't know. There was a difference when especially when I'm watching these auditors and you go into these government buildings, and they're just beautiful mansion buildings, of course, because, they were founded, and they slap government building on, they take it over. But to see them walk up in like yoga pants and big baggy sweatshirts and stuff. This one gal looked like she was heading to the beach, like literally had like kind of a sarong and flip flops kind of thing going on. So I don't know. Maybe that's because I'm getting older, but it doesn't take much to at least look like you tried. And I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm shaming. I don't mean to. Let's move on. What do we learn from hippopotamuses? It's impossible to reduce weight only by eating green grass, salads, and walking. So just so you know. I don't know. Things that humor me. Like this action figure for the movie The Fog. It was this John Carpenter. It was a pretty scary movie. And now it's probably completely a joke, but man, I thought this made me laugh, so maybe make someone else laugh. So there you go. So fully posable, this action figure from the fog. So anyways, let's move on. It's enough of this nonsense. Oh, there we go. So the thing about the possibly that Devil's Tower growing out of the ground, it's got to be because of this. It's got to the inner core, and then the outer core, and then the mantle, and then the magma comes through and goes to the crust. And we know all of this. Why? Because the deepest hole we've ever dug is less than 8 miles deep, which doesn't even show up really on this. And the rest of this is a guess. In fact, I just covered 2 stories, I think one last year and one this year, that they keep changing on. They found another core that they didn't know about, and then something happened where it started reverse, and like Superman did something, and now where it's in reverse, the rotation, none of it. They just make it up. It's like arguing with a 10-year-old. They just make up more information and rules as they go along. And so that's why I still don't believe any of the things that the geologists tell us. That's why we have to do our boots on the ground looking at things. It's the only way we're going to figure these things out, because no one's going to show it to us. And will we ever figure it out? Most likely no. It's fun to try, but just know that any show you're watching, I don't care how long they've been doing the research that they're doing, you can look up the same information as they can. Not one of us is any smarter than the other one. And in fact, most of the time when they're doing absolutes and saying that they're super smart, they're missing out on some really good information. If you pigeonhole yourself into all absolutes, then you turn yourself off, even when you see the information right in front of you. Like even, let's see, where is it? This. The fact that we're being told that this was put together temporarily for the World's Fair, and then a lot of these buildings had to be destroyed. They were so permanent, and you can see how permanent this one's still here with this arch. No problems with it. But, they have all these like fake fires and things going on. A cow kicked over a lamp and burned down the entire city of Frisco, and a monkey knocked over a lamp and burned down, I think, Springfield. And out here, I don't know, I think they blamed it on a homeless person, probably started a fire, and they did one in Seattle. And we keep finding cities that are buried under the current city, or we're finding buildings that, these buildings that they make now, these little boxes, tiny boxes, strong wind knocks these things over. And yet this stuff is, supposedly it's at least 100 years. I say it's even more. I think that's another lie of history. They said that back in the biblical days and stuff, they were living in mud huts. I think they were building this somehow of technology we don't understand, fallen angel technology, because that would make sense as to if the world was so out of control with giants and God had to wipe everything out with a giant flood. This is the kind of buildings I would think he'd wipe out, not a bunch of mud huts. But what do I know? I wasn't there, and neither were you. So, and then there's something to be said about this. I just screenshot this it's mostly in Russian, and that's where I get all my information from a hardwire at the Kremlin. But we've talked about this, and Jen and Chapu have covered this way better than I can. But you see, they have this ball, and it had mercury in it, and the antenna, and a lot of times these are plated in gold. Basically it was an energy generator. And that's why I also believe, like he wrote on here, the big reason they removed all the pipe organs, because there's enough evidence in my mind to suggest that, like the stained glass windows that you see in these beautiful places, if they had some kind of energy emitter that would shine light from inside out, then you would get those beautiful looks up in the sky. And in addition to that, the organ music, frequency heals. And so there was like a big healing center. And of course, with free energy and all that. So it's another reason why they demolish all these things. So we can't find out our own history and realize that there's a lot of free energy if we tapped into it. But we probably will never get to that stage anymore. Oh, that's just me again. Oh, I did this because last week I was showing ad nauseum this thing that flew past me, and I was able to get it to where you could see it. and I screenshot it because it's creepy, I think. Let's see. And you'll be able to see it. So I took 2 screenshots of it. Look at that. You can totally see the ears or whatever these horn things are. There's an eyeball here, an eyeball, a nose, and then some kind of creepy Joker smile on this pointy chin. It's no bueno. I don't believe that this was such a nice creature. I feel like Mr. BBB is like, here, I've got a red filter on it. Here, we slowed it down, put it in black and white. But look at that. Come on. I've never seen a dragonfly, locust, katydid. I don't care what it was. Nothing like that. And the thing turns its face at the camera. So the mantis fairy. So, yeah, pretty creepy. Pretty creepy. Okay, and that's it. How do we get out of this? Escape. Let's see. Boom. Okay, there we are. All right. So you kind of like the flying thing, yeah? until I got a close up of its face. But who am I to judge, right? Maybe that's beautiful in where it comes from. So I apologize. Yeah, didn't seem evil. No, you're right, and it didn't. When it flew by, it just was weird because my first on the video I even said, "What was that? A demon?" It was weird. So I don't know. I'm just gonna stay away from it. It can live where it lives, and I'll stay where I am. So, so, and phenomenal. What do you got? A strange photo with a spiral orb thing. Oh, cool. Yeah, I had some orbs last week too. Some that went into some eggs, and one that a little child was watching. So yeah, that's wild. Creepy and crazy. Yes, I agree. So, all right. So let's see. But that's not even the one I was looking for. I went into that. Let's see. Let me close that. Oh, here it is. Okay. So go back in here. Let's see. Hang on a sec, people. Because going back to the Devil's Tower thing, I also am aware that we could be seeing something like this, some kind of melted Tower of Babel, melted down. I'm not discounting that either, because that's the other thing. We don't know when this happened. It's talked about, but the way the Bible's written, some things are concurrent and some things are in the future, in the past, and so forth. And so whenever the Tower of Babel got melted, was it a separate time or was it during Revelation when Jesus came back with fire? Because what I see evidence of, I see buildings that are being dug out, like, for instance, these, and finding this like old world down here. Like there's another level. We don't actually know what ground level is anymore. And so let's say, I mean, it could have been multiple events, but let's say the big flood brought these buildings to here, and then they just build this thing on top of it. And then there's other buildings that, let's see, do I have another picture of them? No, I guess not. But a lot of the ones that we do with the melt, where you can see things that have been melted. Even this picture kind of looks like it's melted. But so that would be when, if we went through Jesus's return, he would come back in Revelations with fire, and it looks like the grid system somehow got melted, maybe from the top or the bottom through. It could be through electricity, like lightning, and then also I've been looking into mercury is the only thing that can destroy gold. And so maybe there was some way that mercury was introduced at the same time, because in addition to that, if you heated the mercury, it would produce a toxic gas. And that correlates with the Bible that, the animals and the people and stuff die off, but the trees aren't hurt. So lots of questions, a lot of things add up. Some maybe don't, but it's fun to speculate, but we'll never know most likely. And by the time we do know, the joke of it probably won't matter. So, but yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at with all that. So let me get off of this. Okay. So, all right. So what do we have here? When Rose is here, hi Rose. I don't know. He's just saying hi to 1,000 people. Okay. So let's see. Now what's Stephanie says hi. Did you just show up? We'll get you too. Where is it?
I don't feel dirty.
And that all started because of Jen, because I'd watch her shows and it sounded like she was a teacher and like yell at the class because I'd get a little too rambunctious in the chat. And so I just feel like these are classes. Not so much mine, but in some ways, hopefully people are learning things. And Voynich is early for a Dutchman. Yes. So, all right. So let's see. Let me get into some of the nonsense of the world because we got to knock that out of here. I wish we could, but we could at least do it on this show. So we'll go clickety here and clickety click here. And here we go. Here, click there, click everywhere, click. Okay. Hopefully y'all see this. One of my faves, Clown Planet. If you haven't liked, shared, and subscribed, he's got. I use a lot of his stuff here. Multiple places showed this. What's going on? And I guess there was a bombing in Ukraine. And
President Zelensky was very angry at the attack on Odessa overnight.
And so they're cleaning up. It's very important to clean up after. Here we can kill it. Where's the music? So they're cleaning up, and they're very strong. Ukraine. I was really shocked. The strength of the Ukrainian women is just incredible. So I don't know if you caught that, but these two women especially are two of my favorite superheroes. So, and you can still find that video online. So, but that's it. We're just watching a movie. So, what's next? Meanwhile, in New York, I don't know if you all saw this. This is on John Talks that I watch.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
4-year-old man Curtis Davis is found on the spot.
Thank you.
Okay, so here's the context of this. He's given a speech, and he has messed over his city like, most of the mayors have now. And he's given a speech, and they're screaming obscenities at him, and he's trying to play it off like, hey, it doesn't bother me. And then they get to about him. Oh, turn this down. Okay. They get to about how he treats homeless people. And you get this.
4-year-old man Curtis Davis is found on the spot.
Thank you. She said I'm messing with homeless people. You know that? One should be happy if someone wants to make love to them.
Okay. Seriously. The woman said you're effing with homeless people, and he changes it into, hey, they should be happy that he's making love to them.
Fuck you!
That's basically what he said. Isn't that wild? They don't even care anymore. They don't even care. They don't even care. Because they know they don't have to get voted in. They just get stuck in there. So, and if you notice up on my tabs, I don't know if you can see on my tabs, they're all X's now because this maniac decided to change, just destroy Twitter with firing everyone. And where's this one? And then he changed it. Do I even have that tab? Dang, they might have taken it down. But let's see, can I find it? Yeah, here. Look at this. You take this X that he has, and you flip it on it by itself, right? You mirror it, right? Does that look like anything? Anyone? Bueller? I mean, where is it? They have to have it there you go. See? I mean, come on. They don't even hide it anymore. Hidden in plain sight. And if that's not enough, they're look what they're doing to all the logos. like all going to black and white, like Masonic, Illuminati, whatever you want to call it, colors. Interesting. Interesting. Is that all that's on that one? Yeah, I think so. Okay, so let's go back here. And of course, the big news on the mainstream media is Trump is getting indicted again. And you know what? Again, if you're still caught up in politics, just know that the people in these rooms, they have more in common with each other than they'll ever have with us. And so whether you're Trump, Biden, Hillary, whatever, they all work together. The main agenda is through the world agenda. Whatever the countries do, they still have to answer to that. So, but I thought it was interesting that the guy not only is still relevant somewhere, but what he says on the indictment.
Imagine our reading the James Madison or Thomas.
Oh, I guess I'll here. Let's see if we can do it this way. Make this smaller. Yeah, because I get in trouble with those things. But basically, he just says, "Can you imagine if James Madison and our founding fathers like tried to overthrow the government? James Madison or Thomas Jefferson tried to overthrow the government, right? I mean, it's like even though I believe a lot of history has been rewritten and faked, the fact that he can go on and just blab this out, and no one cares. It's shocking to me, but that's the clown world we live in. So yeah, that's not even him. His register, maybe. Yeah. Okay. And then I just read this one. This someone, I think it was Trevor, I think, or one of them sent me that Samsung is now going along with the 2030 agenda, which most of them, I'm sure, eventually get lockstep in. But so they turn things on that teach you how to be a better person and stay in your 15-minute sustainable city. So that's on its way to a phone near you. This one is interesting because I don't, obviously I believe Joe Rogan is, what do you call that? Controlled opposition. He'll tell you some stuff. And he has this guy on the show that's basically said, the things I said the other day about the nuclear test. They were faking these to make people believe he had this capability. But like they show this, like I did, this house. And, they questioned how did the cameras in the film survive? Now, of course, the government says they were hidden in some kind of, I don't know, casing that allowed it to do that. But even so, I mean, I would think the film would be exposed weird. But even if you want to believe with all of that, this one I've shown. So, see, there was no car, and now there's a car. No car. So, obviously a jump cut of some kind. And unless it's Indiana Jones, whoever drove that car is not escaping if this was real. It doesn't even look real. Just like I believe they faked the moon landing. They did this to scare generations to this day about the fact they just had the new movie, Chernobyl. And but if you look into, like I have in those areas, first of all, there's always, not Chernobyl, I take that back. What is it? Oppenheimer, about the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombs. Now, I do believe things happened there, yes. The people that survived it, that weren't through the mainstream description of it, because there was only one person that was allowed to get all the information and disseminate it, whatever, to the general public. And in fact, if Rose is here, there's a Crow episode on it, I'm sure. But the people that live there, that they talked to, that the families that went through it, said it was like a carpet bombing, the way it was described, and it looks like that. And there were still people living there, and they used to tell us that this radiation would take you all out, when it didn't seem to do that. In fact, there's always been things living in Chernobyl ever since. There's animal life and plant life. But what they did do, completely unrelated, was immediately after all that, there was mandatory different types of anti things that were injected into people, if you get my drift. And everyone was getting sick. I'm sure it was completely unrelated. That was probably preventing them from getting more sick. But these are all things you can look up. It's really interesting. And of course, they still use that today. And I truly believe when they run these movies like they just did, it's to just indoctrinate another generation to be scared of these things. And I do not believe that there's some massive button that some guy can push, like in War Games. Great movie, one of my favorite handlers. Matthew Broderick killed 2 people drunk driving, but no one cares. But I truly don't believe that there's this button that would just annihilate the planet. I don't believe in that. I do believe that the governments are very capable of bombing people without this button. I've seen it. It's just basically America. But yeah, so that's it. They were covering that, and I thought it was kind of poignant because the whole like I said, the whole Oppenheimer thing that's going on right now. And don't forget the guy that's big on that was what's his name? I'm drawing a blank and everything. Albert Einstein, and we covered him about how what I feel about him. But he also helps push the whole theory of relativity and all that other stuff too. And hang on a second. Okay. So yeah, that's how I feel about all that. And let's see. Yeah, here we go. It's one Lithuanian special reporter was in charge of reporting on Hiroshima, and there's never been a time when plants and animals haven't thrived at all these. Exactly. And I remember we went through one just recently. There was a scare in Japan where they said that the molten reactors from Fukushima? Is that the one? No, what was the reactor? Fukushima Nagasaki. Thanks, honey. The one that just happened. There was the big was an earthquake and tidal wave, and then Fukushima. Okay, and they were telling us, like, I even bought iodine because they were saying that it's going to start coming over from Japan into the West Coast where we live, and but now I don't buy into any of that stuff. I don't. Okay, so what's next? Hoax on me. Yeah, hoax on me. Hey, let's see if I can say it right. Pyridoxine oxide. Okay, I hope I did it right that time. Forever I could never say it. I probably still can't. Okay. All right, so what are we doing here? Yeah, Fukushima. Say this 3 times fast. Fukushima fish. Fukushima fish. Fukushima fish. Okay, so let's see. We covered that. Get rid of that tab. Oh, and we covered about how, unfortunately, Pfizer had a fire, and I'm sure a lot of files and things got destroyed, and vials of things got destroyed, but not before they went before some commission where they were asked point blank, did we get a different one than they did? And
said that your vaccine mandate was using your own batch of vaccine, especially imported for Pfizer, which was not tested by the TGA. Is that correct?
Senator, so Pfizer undertook to import a batch of vaccine specifically for the employee vaccination program.
So I'm just going to leave it there. I'm not going to comment. I'm just saying they got a different one than we did. I'm sure there was a reason. What's next? Oh, and this guy, I don't know who he is, but he says, welcome to China, because his article that he was trying to post said it can't be shared in China. So for all my friends in China, of course, this is coming to a theater near us, too, over here in the United States. But be perfectly blunt, the people in the United States only care about the United States, it seems. So sorry it's happening to Canada. You're U.S. light, right? Is that what they call us? But yeah, does that suck? It's we've been talking about it for a while, And it's just they own the programs, they own the platforms. That's why I have to talk in code on the one you're watching me now. So unless you're over on Rockfin, but there's a few things I can't say over there. Just saying. And what are they, Rockfin? I'm not going to tell you because I can't say them. So, but thank you for the 4 people over there. Love you. All right. What's next? Okay, we covered that. Oh, come on. This is funny just because China had to deny some of their sun bears are humans in costumes. You tell me. You tell me. Let's see. So what do you all think? Because I first of all, I didn't know about sun bears, but this is here's a little sun bear. And they do stand like this. Okay. But I'm more concerned about this one. And the way this move, come on. and I don't know. Honestly, it's getting to the point you don't want to believe anymore, right? But the fact that they had to go and like publicly say, no, these are real bears. That's probably the bearer of bad news. See, I took the whole thing full circle to that joke. So anyways, I don't know. It's real or not. You be the judge. Smarter men than me have tried to figure this out. Okay, what's next? Oh yeah, this one. So just so you know, this is also Clown Planet. It's not so weird to think that because we covered this guy. He spent, I don't know, was it 1,200 or 12,000 pounds to make this costume to be considered a dog. And so, the world we live in, you can identify as anything, and he identifies as a dog, and that's how he is going to present himself to the world. So is it so weird to think that one of those bears might have been a dude? I don't know. I think it's weird we even have to discuss it. I also find it interesting the kids aren't having it. They know damn well what it is, and they're scared of him. As they should be. As they should be. Yeah, so. But yeah, there we go. Oh, and for in China, if you're wondering what a 15-minute city and how they can lock you in, this says in this neighborhood, there's hundreds of apartment buildings, tens of thousands of people, a few exits, and you need to scan your QR passport to get in or out. It'll be real easy to lock everyone down. And loud noises. So, yeah. It's like they have like to get on and off the ferry, but to have it actually at this apartment complex. And they probably like it because for security wise, they know no one can get in. The problem is they forget that some of these gates and walls are made to keep people out, in, not out. So just saying. Okay, what's next? And then they also have this. We've shown where you scan your hand in some of these places. And this one, I think you scan your face, your eyeball, and then depending on your credit score, of course, you can get your food and drink. Just like it talks about in the Bible, there'll be a day when you're going to have to. And I don't say, like, the mark doesn't necessarily, like, if that already happened, that original mark that was on the forehead or the hand, if we're in Satan's little season, which is where I believe we're sitting, he's going to mimic, because he gets, after the 1,000-year reign of Christ, he gets loose to deceive the world. So who's left? The leftovers. I believe that's us. Whoever didn't make it out the first time, here we are. Satan's here to deceive us. So it's his version of Revelation. And so everything he does is a mimic. He can't create, he mimics. So he's going to make it so we have to use all these machinery because he lives in this, the Prince of the Airways. So he lives in these machines, and he's going to make it so you have to accept his mark to buy or sell, which is you'll have to be in the system because all your money will be credit score money, which they can decide whether or not you get to use or not. And you're going to have all your, updated shots, all that stuff, and be a good, comply. and then you can use the system. So, personally, this is where I'm, right now is what I'm thinking is that's where you're going to have to make the choice in Satan's little season, whether you go along with the machinery or you try to live, as a loner off grid, I guess. I'm not sure, well, we'll all see where it all goes. We're all in this together. And I'm going to throw this one in the chat. I haven't read through the whole thing. But I did read through some of it, and they're big on vegetable oil being a safe alternative to and where's the rockfish people? You're over here. Paste. Go. Oh, see how I have to keep hitting live. It doesn't even know where we are in the show. But I did look into it enough to see that, like a lot of these processed things, and why are they just called vegetable oil? Like, what vegetable are they using? Like, it's just interesting to me when you pay off someone, you get the heart healthy little sticker. You can just say whatever you want. We covered LaCroix drink. Look it up. They don't even tell you what's in it. It just says like beauty and niceness and water or something. It's weird that they can get away with that and not tell you what they're using for the flavors. And the same thing with this. You say it's healthy and you can just call it vegetable oil, but that doesn't describe where it came from. What vegetable did it come from? And you're going to go through the descriptions of how they have to strip it down with chemicals to do this process, and detergents to get rid of the different looks and smells of things. Like, there's a lot of processing that goes into these heart healthy things. And so I say, again, listen to the doctors and the general, whatever, the CDC guy, all that stuff. I know nothing. I'm not a doctor. But what I do know is this. If you look up the symptoms for side effects of butter or salt or any of the like normal just things that you would use, even like olive oil, the only time you'll see side effects by the science is in excess. Well, that's true about anything. Whereas some of these things, they'll have side effects with no excess. Again, read the toothpaste tube that you use to brush your children's teeth. It says don't give it to children, and it says if you swallow it, spit it out and call a poison center or go to the doctor. And you think, okay, well, maybe my child has been able to spit it out and not swallow any, but the gums in the mouth are one of the most absorbent areas that we have. And so I personally, again, I'm not a doctor, I don't know anything. The fluoride, I don't believe is positive. And you should look into that because it's a byproduct of the aluminum company. And fluoride in its natural state is extremely toxic. So, having said that, this show, all I teach is read labels. Try to be as close to natural products as you can. We live in this world. We all are guilty of it. It's just the less you put in your system that your body sees as poison, the more it'll help clean and heal yourself. Because if you're constantly adding more and more, negative chemicals into your body, it never gets a chance to, clean out that one back bedroom that you can't get to. I'm not saying my house, but you know what I mean. So, but yeah, look into that. I put it in the chat because he goes over quite a bit. And then this one, just because I just, how I feel if you don't look back on some of my shows. I don't have a problem with anyone. I have people in my family that are transitioning. I get it. I understand it. It's your body, your choice. The problem I have is this unnatural forcing of any group, minority, whatever you want to call it, on the general public. Because I don't see people going around, at least around me, maybe I don't live in this area that they show, but hating on any specific group, except if it's like obnoxious and you get in your face. But if two heterosexual, a couple was sitting in my living room and making out, I'd tell them to stop too. You know what I mean? It's like, it doesn't matter what it is. It's sort of over the top. And the fact that they're celebrating women that have scars because they decided to change and transition to men. They got it on this wall for this coffee house, and I think there's some shoe company that's now putting a Doc Martens or something did some kind of charity shoe thing. I just feel it is an unnatural push, but that's my own personal belief. But the fact that children are thinking and talking about this, and 10 years old, and they don't even understand what they're talking about, and the fact that the Hollywood stars are finding out that their boy and girl, at the age of 3, I think what was that one gal, found out that her 3-year-old was actually a girl. How does she know that? He's 3. He doesn't even understand what she's talking about. So that's where I have an issue with. It's the unnatural push on things, not the people themselves. I feel that's part of the whole deception. If you're confused, start cutting up your body. I think that's a bit going too far. But again, my opinion, it goes as far as nowhere. Meanwhile, more important things is we're burning alive.
And we've seen the Italian government telling people in certain cities not to go out during certain times. Might we see other countries doing the same? And what should people who are planning on going on holiday there be doing?
Well, I mean, obviously, residents who live there are probably a little bit more sun savvy than we are. And they know, in Spain, they take siestas and avoid the heat of the
So they're basically saying, stay inside in the heat of the day. Why is all of a sudden now this is all about we're all going to die? It's so dramatic. You got this guy saying,
scorching week across vast stretches of the U.S. The heat will kill you first.
Right? And then they show this guy going to the desert, and he proves it because he touches a hot rock.
This rock, and it's been sitting out in the sun, and I can feel the heat from the rock.
How is this news? We've gotten to the point where this is news. Because they want to beat you down. Don't go outside. You're killing the planet because now everything's heating up and everything's melting. You got this one here. Even the cacti in the desert in the Southwest are having a tough time. The cacti are dying because you had an extra steak this week. Or because you wanted to drive your car. The cactus are dying. Come on. And how about this? The Nobel Prize winner doesn't believe in this crisis, and they canceled him. Now, I always say I'm not a doctor or a lawyer or anything, but this guy is a physicist. I think I said that right. Dr. John Clauser. He was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics last year, right? And then this year they canceled his speech because he said this sentence. I don't believe there's something going on, he said in Quantum Korea. So the world we live in, this is him talking, not me. The world we live in today is filled with misinformation. It's up to each of you to serve as judges, distinguishing truth from falsehood based on accurate observations of phenomena. That I agree with this man 100%. That's the problem. They're trying to just groupthink, and we need to continue to think for ourselves. That's why I play this little thing in the beginning, if I could even find it. This one.
You're all individual.
Like they even use the buzzword, think for yourself, do your own research. They now say is for fringe people. And that was what they used to teach me in school. We used to go to the library and do research papers where we couldn't use Wikipedia. It didn't exist. We had to use research books that didn't leave the library. You had to work there and write everything out on a piece of paper and then take it home and maybe transfer it by typing it. That's how we did things in my old days. And then you'd even ride the horse and buggy each way up a hill in the snow. No, but you know what I mean? That's what we had to do. Nowadays, there's no research being done. even the channels that you watch. It's what Wikipedia. How's that research? So you need to start doing your own reading. You need to start doing your own research. I'll show you a perfect example. Let's see. Where's the thing? Clickety click. Stop here. Where is it? Is it in these tabs? Let's see. It's not that one. It's not that. We covered that. Where are you? That one? That one? No, we're going to cover that in a second here. Here it is. It's that one. Okay. So go here. Clickety click. Okay. I think it's this one here. Yeah.
That Canada and Norway have
There was a Canadian-Norwegian war.
been at war for over 100 years. In Halifax, Canada, on December 6, 1917, the SS Emo, a Norwegian cargo ship laden with high explosives, collided with the French vessel, the SS Mont Blanc. The blast was the largest human-made explosion up to that point in history. Nearly all structures within an 800-meter radius were obliterated. It was then found out that the then King of Norway, Haakon VII, actually packed the explosives himself in an attempt to bring down the Canadian monarchy. He knew that Captain Iverson was one of the worst navigators in all of Norway. Like and follow for part 2. Just kidding. And I made most of that stuff up.
So there. Now, I don't know how many of you are actually buying into that at first, because why wouldn't you? Because he had it put together, really pretty packaged. He had the music, the intense music. He had the old photos. He zoomed in on things. He had animation to it. I mean, it was really well done. But that's my point. As I don't even want to use that word, as truthers or whatever, people that are starting to see the lies of the world, and we leave the mainstream media. Well, and this guy does this as a joke, but there are people that are doing this right now, just making up stuff or putting together things and then creating a podcast or whatever. Why? Because they need to have new content, they need to make money, and they need to come up with something. And so before we blindly just share on Facebook or Twitter or X rather, or any of these other medias that we have, make sure you do some double checks and triple checks, because you're going to get deceived. I still get them. Everyone's going to be deceived. That's what we're in. We're in the short season of Satan. It's the great deception. And so just be aware of that. And that you're on alternative media sites, you're going to have deception. And again, this guy does it because he's just a hilarious troll. I just found him. James is on Lightfoot. And I found him because of this stunt. It's illegal to dig up.
Not illegal to.
It's illegal to dig up trillium flowers in Canada, where he lives. And so what he did is he went around and he planted trillium flowers in the most awkward places. And so
184, the Ontario Trilliums Protection Act, which protects our provincial flower. So I planted a ton of trilliums all over the city. You want to hit a home run? $500 fine. Oh, so you want to play on the seesaw? $500 fine. Drive down this alleyway? $500 fine. Build a condo on this construction site? $500 fine. You want to slide on the slide? $500 fine. You may ask yourself, if it's so illegal, how did I get all of these trilliums? Well, I drove to the Quebec border where it's legal to dig up the trilly willies, and I imported them back across the border.
Yeah, Jamie, fuck me.
So there you go. Yeah, trillium. Isn't that something? So that's how I came across that guy. But I thought it was interesting because, he has that other video that, man, it sure seems legit until you realize that he's just completely making it all up. So that's, I guess, what I wanted to showcase, is to let you know that just be careful who you're listening to and following. And look up the stuff I'm talking about. Don't take my word for it, please. I've been on this journey myself, finding out all these things that keep changing around me. And let's see, where's this? It's in here somewhere. This one. Okay, here. Clickety click. Let's see. Entire screen. No. Window. This one. Click. There we go. So like this, where it talks about Moses being placed, he's now placed in an ark. Where is it? Yeah, the ark of bulrushes instead of a basket. Things are changing. And here, where's that? Oh, and for signs and symbols, remember we showed you that sign, the Freemason thing. And that's not like everybody I know that I've met through YouTube, someone in their family, and usually it was their grandparents, and sometimes both of their grandparents, were in this. That was what they did in that generation. The husbands and the wives were in some form of these clubs. And but that doesn't mean that they were bad. There's an evil part to this, that it kind of like a parasite glommed onto the whole system, and are using it to get their messages out through the signs and symbols. Just like this, when I started doing this, and all the flat Earth people I was hanging out with, they all do this, thinking that they're saying flat Earth. It's the entered apprentice that you're doing. Just know it. There's a reason why they have you do these things. There's signs and symbols everywhere. You got the columns and the 33. And it matches up with you go through this stuff. Russian Vids does it way, obviously, better than I do. I talked with them one time. Hopefully we'll do it again. But this is what runs everything. And their symbols are everywhere. Some people say it's, the new age is new, whatever, but it's the old age. They just went underground. And I met this gentleman. He showed up and he showed me his card. So I took a picture of it at one of those events. He was very proud of it. So it's not a fantasy. They walk among us, and just be careful. That's all. Because the controlled opposition, the fact that so many stars and people do this for no reason whatsoever, it's just a coincidence. No, they do this to show you the signs and symbols of who's running them and who's running the world. You can't get famous in Hollywood or any huge fame without showing your allegiance. It's just the way it seems to work in this system. Two sides of the same coin, like I said earlier. I'm not a politics show because I don't believe in any of them. I think the New World Order agenda is being pushed by either side. Doesn't matter. Here we go. When I was saying that they carpet bomb in the U.S. is mostly us. Yeah, exactly. Because since I've awoken, I still have a love for my country. I have a love for my children that they're all in military. And so it's like I have a pride in that. However, the wars and the people higher up that are running this little chessboard of our children, they don't care about us. In fact, most of the wars we're finding out are fake because we wanted to go there and steal whatever, maybe some biblical artifact or maybe some kind of resource, maybe some poppy fields, and then have a heroin problem in the United States. I don't know. But it's really sad when I realize that we are the aggressor. We've either invaded or occupied every single country in this plane, except I think like less than half a dozen, and most of them have never heard of those. But we've done it to all the other countries in the name of democracy. And yet if anyone else had done that, they, like the rest of the world, sees us as the aggressor. They do. Like when the Russian pipelines were blown up. These were old. Let me try to find where I was going. There you go. Politics for beginners. The right wing and the left wing and the elites. Remember what he said? The homeless people should be happy that they're messing with them. That's what the elite said. This was the Queen's ceremony. I'm sure just a coincidence where they had this, Baphomet goat figure in it. So these are satanic worship symbols. And I know this looks like the Star of David. It's the Star of Remphan. Look it up. There wasn't a Star of David. This is a Star of Remphan. And the Bible even says that it'll be shown in the end times by people that say that they're certain people, and they're not. And I'm not saying that if you're one of those people, like I born and raised that way. I'm not talking about me or you. I'm talking about the people that have taken over that area and are making you believe that they're someone else, that they're God's special children, and they pray under the Star of Remphan. So, but these are all satanic symbols. I didn't do that. Look it up yourself. You can look into it with the sigils in these symbols. Satanic. And then this is even, we covered, this is on the Oreo cookie. Isn't that great? So, and then, and this isn't actually the caduceus. This isn't actually the healing staff. It's supposed to have a single snake in the staff, which represented when Moses had a thing that they were healed from snakes. And the two snakes is the caduceus, and it's about money. So there's that. Star of Remphan. Not the Star of David. Okay, what's next? And it's on your money. Why is this here? Why is there 72 bricks here to equal your 666? New World Order. It's all written. They're telling you right here. It's all there. So, and I remember these shields having stars in them, and now they don't. But that's a whole other conversation. The word Smoky for the Smoky Mountains or Smoky City no longer has an E. It's Smoky. If you're not sure with that one, look it up. This is the Bible that I've been using from the 1800s. It was a gift given to me from 1880. And the guy that owns it, or, back in the 1800s, his name is Richard, coincidentally, which we don't believe in coincidences. And here you go. This was looking for. Here's in this, it's like the first picture in this Bible, and see, he's in a basket. So, but there's plenty in this Bible. The fact that it says here, judge not, that ye be not judged. And that's where I go with the whole, we need to read more. Because that passage is written in my heart. The ink changed on this paper from the 1800s. But the word of God, as I remember, judge not, lest ye be judged, was never said now. Doesn't exist. But it does in my heart. And when I see this passage, I always read it the correct way, not this way. And that's why I feel that there are people, some people maybe can't see it, but there's others that are denying it. And they're denying it for, I don't know. But the fact that you can deny it, and then let me get out of this screen share real quick here. Where's my thing here? All the way down at the end.
Someone should get fired over this, right?
Judge not, lest ye be judged.
Where did you get that?
Doesn't the Bible say, judge not, lest ye be judged?
I know judge not, lest ye be judged, but gross.
That we judge not, lest we be judged.
You judge not, lest ye be judged.
But doesn't the Bible teach us, judge not, lest ye be judged, Reverend?
Judge not, lest ye be judged.
That was someone's getting fired, is what that was.
So why everywhere you can find it the other way, you can't find it this way, except now in the KJV. And that's all I've ever read. I look at the other ones for reference, but I personally am a KJV person because that's where I started. And I've read the Bible multiple times. And I'm not saying it like it's a badge of honor. I read it all the time. I read it daily. I don't do it because I'm forced to. I don't do it because I need to do a podcast and discuss it. I do it because I find the stories fascinating. I'm all into Kings right now. Kings give you the history of where we come from and how we got into this mess. That's the fascinating thing about Kings is when God gets us out of Egypt and we're in bondage, then he's walking with us. Only they're constantly complaining, right? There's nothing to eat. There's nothing to drink. It's hot. My feet hurt. And he gets to the point where he says he can't walk with them anymore. He sends an angel with them and he forces them to meander around for 40 years because the promised land that he wants to give to them, he can't do it. They're miserable. And when Moses goes up on the mountain to receive the 10 commandments, which used to be on 2 tablets, he now gets 2 tables from IKEA. They were down below doing all kinds of nonsense, orgies and weirdness with animals and stuff, who knows what, and praying to what? The god Moloch, the bull god again, the one of sacrifice your children to, right? And so he gets to the point where he says, I can't even be around you, and I don't blame him for that. And so then they start complaining that everyone else has kings and they don't. And, Moses is like, well, you have God and we want a king. So then careful what you wish for. He gives us kings. Some are good kings and some are bad kings. And in our defense, thank God, is David, because that's the person that God measures everyone against. He had a promise that he gave to Adam that he would bring him back after, I think it was 5,500 years. He had a promise to Abraham that his seed and generations would go on. And he had a promise to David. And that's the promise that, we're still within. And by I say us, I mean, when Jesus shows up, he's there for everyone. He's there to break down the walls and to say that there's a way out of this, and we all are God's children, but he's had it up to here with how we're acting. And so it doesn't matter how you were born or raised. It doesn't matter if you've been eclipsed or not. God will circumcise your heart. It doesn't matter about what was done to the body. And that's where the teachings of Paul come in. And so when we get the kings, we're doing pretty good with David, of course, but then what does he do? He does the whole thing with Bathsheba, right? The guy has everything. God loves him. And he looks across the way and he sees this beautiful woman. See, it's always about the woman. If you're still here, Rose and Jen, I told you it was the woman's fault. He sees this beautiful woman bathing, Bathsheba, and he wants her. And so he sends her husband off to war where he knows he'll get killed. And then he takes her for a wife. Of course, that doesn't please God. And so he says, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to, your lineage is going to be there, but the things are going to get shooken up because of you. We're going to break this up a bit. And when he gets to King Solomon, God loved him because he's like, hey, I'll give you, it's like the whole genie and the wish thing. I'll give you whatever you want. What do you want? And he asked for wisdom. And it was shocking, I guess, to God, because he's like, he could ask for anything and he asked for wisdom. So not only did he give him wisdom, but then he filled in all the other, things along with it, riches and whatever. And In fact, God talks about Solomon as still to this day, there's never been anyone smarter, and there never will be anyone smarter than him. However, God says you got an Achilles heel. It's the women. He's like, you got to watch out. The women are going to turn your heart. And he's like, yeah, whatever. And then he comes to him like 2 times and says the same thing. Hey, these women, they're driving you nuts. They're going to take you away from me. He's like, yeah, whatever. He ends up with hundreds of wives and even more hundreds of concubines, whatever you want to call them back then. And what they do? They turn his heart and they start having temples in all different places. They take whoever they want and they make them leaders. They of course put Moloch and symbols of Moloch and Baal all over the place. Just really pissed off God, which, rightfully so. And so because of Solomon, he's like, okay, I can't deal with this. I'm going to bust this whole thing apart. You had it all, and now it's going to get broken apart. But eventually, because of my promise to David, we'll bring us all back together, or at least, in some way or form. But for now, it's all going to, and that's where you start getting, there's all these different kings. You got king of Israel, king of Judah, and they're all over the place. And then the Moabites are there and stuff, and a lot of Steens, not Stains, but Steens around there, Philistines and what are the Sadducees, a lot of E's, Sadducees and Pharisees, and anyways. So and why when I mentioned about heathens. Heathen is just somebody that doesn't believe in the biblical God that I believe in. But God talks about how they're raging and stuff. They seem like they're always angry. And in this one war, the Moabites, they realized the kings weren't getting along. And God tells them, hey, no, I'm going to put them in your hand. And they all gear up for war. And that next morning, the light shines on this river, and it looks like it's full of blood. It's like blood red. And the Moabites, whatever you call them, they think that they've gotten to war with each other, and it'll be easy to just clean everything up. And so they come across, and of course, the Israelites at that time take them all out. And it was interesting because when they find out that the war is lost, the Moabites, they try to escape, and they can't. And so what does the king do? This is what I told you about. You got to watch out for your heathens. He kills his only son, the heir, as a burnt offering to whatever God he's praying to, which of course didn't work. But I mean, that's pretty messed up. You can go to the story of Abraham, where God told Abraham he needs to kill Isaac for some unknown reason. But both he and Isaac knew about it, and they'd walked with God so much that they figured there was some plan, and he was just going to see God sooner. But of course, God stopped that. He didn't do it. In fact, the only 2 times right now in my memory that I can think of where someone actually had to kill their own child was this Moabite guy, and then God himself, when he sacrificed Jesus to pay for our sins. So those are the 2 times. I think there was another weird story I just read in Kings about some lady and a cannibal. It was weird. I'll read that one again. But apparently some lady goes to, and this is, who is it? Not Elijah, Elisha, and says, this woman and her had a pact that they'd eat one son one day and eat the other one the next day. And I don't know, it's really weird. There's some weirdness going on. That's why I say you need to get it in the Bible now, because things are changing on a molecular level that we can't comprehend. And I'm not saying that it's not good to read it. I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying you need to read it before it gets so ridiculous that it's like unrecognizable. Let's see, where's this? Because these are screenshots from my my antique Bible, and let's see. Can you see that? I think I'm sharing it. Let me look. You're in the past, yeah. So here's the Lord's Prayer, and he says, where is it? Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, and it should be on earth, because it's in my heart. I'm not just one of those pastors that just reads whatever's in front of me. They're not reading the Bible. They're just reciting it. It's like in school. They taught you to memorize. And that's not a way to absorb the information. You have to actually spend time. You have to actually want to do it. And then you'll see these changes, and you won't discount them. You won't call us heretics or tell us we're going to hell. I heard that they were saying that to Brian. Like I was told the other time when I was on, was it Midnight Ride? They told me that I was a heretic and stuff. Well, I don't agree, because this was on earth. We're not in earth. That's where the bad people live, the sleaze stacks and stuff. But even if you get past that one, the fact that it says, forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors, that was always trespasses. Always. Because I find it interesting on line 14, if ye forgive men their trespasses. Well, why didn't he say debts? Because it's here, debts. Then it should also connect here, debts. It doesn't, because this was always trespasses. I knew that before I even read the Bible. As a little Jewish kid, I was told not to read the Bible, but I knew this passage. And then, of course, I've read it many times myself. And then, if you still are having trouble with that, in this same Bible from the 1800s is this page. The Lord's Prayer, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. See that? And then as you continue down, give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. In the book from the 1800s, on the page next to that one you just saw. And if that wasn't enough, in the same Bible, there's this page. It's a really pretty Bible of pictures. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. And this one changed. In earth. But then when you get farther down, this didn't. Forgive our trespasses as we forgive them that trespass against us. Now, these are in a KJV Bible from the 1800s. So don't tell me that they're remembering trespasses because of a song or because of something else. This is an 1800 KJV. It's not a translation issue. These both have it the way I remember it. And yet when you go to the actual page in this Bible, it's been changed to debts. So there's no way you can explain this away. You just can't unless you're purposely deceiving people. You can't explain it away. And no, I didn't draw. That's on the, I drew that on the screen. Okay. Oh, how'd we get on this? Oh, this was supposed to go with those other things we were talking about, how hot it is. Do you know if you look up now, if you're looking about buying a home, they actually have this whole section now about climate risk. Risk for floods, risk for storm, drought, heat, fire. This place was relatively low. It's about 0.8% of the land is expected to burn in 2050. How do we... who's deciding this? Anyways, let's get out of this nonsense. Right? Because then you got this.
Someone should get fired over this, right?
When the lion will lay down with the lamb.
There is no sorrow or suffering. The lion lies with the lamb.
And the lion shall lie down with the lamb.
That was someone's getting fired, is what that was.
Because the lion doesn't lay with the lamb anymore. See, that would be unique, right? A lion showing up, laying down with a lamb. Whoa, that's some crazy times. Now it's wolf dwells with the lamb. And anybody that thinks otherwise is misremembering, including all the stores that have lion and lamb, including all the different things that you'll see, all lion and lamb. There's no wolf and lamb and all. Who was showing a whole bunch of tattoos? Yeah, so it's like, it's always been the lion lays with the lamb. Now wolf dwelling with the lamb. Well, that happens all the time. And to me, that's, I think, a way that we're supposed to be woken up to let you know that they walk among us. They do. And so I've been talking more about this because I was shut down on this too. I was on I had a gentleman on my stream, and then afterwards they all kind of goofed on me that I believe in this. And yet this sentence right here, the truth shall set you free, the way I remember it, this came from them. I didn't create this. I added this, and but this whole thing is theirs. The truth shall set you free. Yes, John, I agree. That's how I remember it. And actually, I really respect this gentleman, Russian Vids. I don't know how he feels about the Mandela effect, but I find it interesting. He's got a new ending, which I really like. And he has this song. I believe the truth will set you free. And it's right there. It's in the song, and it's on the thing. John 8:32, the truth will set you free. And yet, the reason I'm bringing this up is that is a quantum effect that both John has wrong and so does Russian Vids. Because when you go down to KJV, John 8, we go down to 32, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. So why is everyone getting it wrong? Everyone. There's 3 different people right there that got that wrong. So, okay. What's next? Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. We covered Devil's Tower. Okay. All right. How you all doing? Wow. Over 100 people here. A lot of comments. And and I do listen to Russian Vids. I'm sorry. I do. He's one of the few people that is still talking about Jesus, that is still telling you that there's Masonic infiltration. He talks about and you know what? He and I differ a little bit on as far as what to eat, but that we can cover that. But other than that, no. And now how he feels about this, I don't know. But I find it interesting because when people do deny, I'm not saying he does, but like the other gentleman does, and then they do it wrong. It's hard to explain it away. So close analysis of the dollar should exact. You know what, Faye? That was one of the ones that blew me away because I didn't even know what was going on. And I had someone that made a comment like, why are you writing it wrong? Because I put the 2 lines in it. And for anyone that doesn't know what we're talking about, if you look at your keyboard now, the dollar bill only has 1 line. In fact, check this out. I came across, or this found me.
Someone should get fired over this, right?
So besides shows you can watch on YouTube, there are movies. So I put on a movie. Uh-oh. He doesn't seem to like this. You know why? Because it was never that way. See, he got too many lines on his dollar. Someone's getting fired.
That was someone's getting fired, is what that was.
Yeah, that's how the dollar bill is now. So that's weird. It's oops. What does it say? Oh, someone's saying goodnight. I was trying to hit this one, readable snarfle, because I just like saying that. It's very true. It's right. So, okay. Let's see. Where are we at here? All right. My goodness, it's almost 8:00 here, and we haven't. Still have Sarah, and let's hit this. This week in scary space news. All right, here's a new cartoon. I don't know if I've already shown that one, but there's a new cartoon. That's your images of another galaxy. Okay, what's next? Then we had the supermoons. So we had one on the 1st, and then we'll have one at the end of this month. And it's a rare occurrence. So keep an eye on. Oh, this is above Melbourne in Australia, mate. So, but you can see them. We didn't have it blue, but we had huge moons. That's why they call them supermoon, I guess. But if it turns blue, I'm curious as to why. I'm sure there's a reason. The Big Bang may not have been the beginning of the universe. See how they just keep rewriting things? Physicists brave enough to look beyond it aren't so sure. So they just continue to just rewrite it however they want. An endless amount of calculations that no one will ever be able to figure out except Good Will Hunting, and he was fake. And then multiple people and multiple stories on this. The city-sized comet heading to Earth that grew horns. It's not just Moses growing horns now. It's this comet. It was a massive volcanic eruption, and it has the horns, right? And if you don't like that picture here, I got a color cartoon there. That really, they use this. Look, that was one of the, it looks like from the movie Armageddon or one of those movies. They really use that as their headline. So, what's next? Then there's this. This is the original footage of the Gemini 9 spacewalk. Where are the stars? I mean, the Thunderbirds did this better, I'm telling you. But look these things up. These are supposedly the real footages of a spacewalk. Look at how that Earth is spinning. Look at that. And then what are these clouds, I guess? I don't know what are these dots? Little houses? Like, they don't explain anything. And then when you listen to the NASA astronauts, sometimes they see stars, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they saw them at night, sometimes they saw them during the day. This guy just looks like he's hanging on a wire like a really bad Spider-Man. What's next? Okay, we can't get into this yet. Let's stop screen sharing. We gotta, if Jen's still here, we're gonna get into that. So I'll tell you what. You're scared by the space news? Yeah, right? So, okay. How about we do this? Let me throw on my Sarah video, and I can refill my drink, and here we go. So if you want to watch what we did this week and you want to see what Sarah's up to, you got about 5-6 minutes, and if not, it's time to go pee and fill up your drink, and then we'll be right there. So see you in a minute here.
The ceiling fans? They're very attractive.
We will all be making soap sculptures tonight.
Want to save money on your laundry and have it even better for you? Get yourself a giant bag of this baking soda, smooth it out on a baking sheet, or better yet, have your beautiful wife do it for you. Aww! Preheat an oven to 200, and we're going to make washing soda. And so what you want to do is occasionally stir it and then spread it out flat again. It should take, well, some people take up to 4 hours.
And I think it's going to be a long, long time.
But usually somewhere between 2 to up to 4 hours. And what you're doing is you're changing the alchemy of the baking soda, turning it into what's called washing soda. And then we're going to use that and mix in some more baking soda, a little salt, and we'll make our laundry soap.
And I think it's going to be a long, long time.
So I'm going to smooth this out. It's just hard to do with one hand. So through the miracle, magical of editing, it'll be done. There. It's all smoothed out.
We make soap.
Okay, so we're going to do this outside. We're going to use this old coconut oil container. That's what we use for our washing soap, laundry soap. And we're going to be putting the washing soap that we made into here with the funnel and spill as little as possible. And then we're going to be adding the rest to make the laundry soap. All right, so we transferred the washing soap into this bowl, and we're putting the bowl into this funnel, which goes into that container.
And I think it's gonna be a long, long time.
Now we're gonna add more baking soda on top of the washing soda we just created. And we let it in the sun because the hippie in us says the sunshine and the air's gotta be good, and of course we pray over it and everything we make.
Pray, pray, pray.
All right, so now we're adding the baking soda on top of the created washing soda. And then we're gonna top it off with a little bit of salt. So as you can see now, the ratio here is 1-to-1, baking soda and washing soda. Now we're gonna add the salt.
Salt.
Any salt will work. We went with the pink Himalayan this time, but you know, any good sea salt.
I like the pink Himalayan because you can tell when you mix it up.
This is true.
That's very true.
Shaky, shaky.
And I think it's gonna be a long, long time.
Okay, so you can see we got our washing soda, we got our salt, and now we're just gonna shake it up and mix it all together.
And I think it's gonna be a long, long time.
So there's our finished laundry soap. It's almost a complete container, about a third load. And then it does really well in cold water. The formula that we use on this is about 2 to 3 scoops of this and a half a cup of white vinegar. And it does really well. And the thing is it doesn't make your clothes stink like some different fragrances and stuff.
It's time for Ceiling Fan Man and Sarah, and kisses and tacos.
Here, remember? We had tacos.
I love my chickens so much that when I have them in the yard, I still have them contained. But every once in a while, someone says, well, why do you need to do that? To protect your chickens? When you have a Black Panther, the Black Panther will check and protect the kittens. Right? It'll do it by looking adorable. Right. The Black Panther stalks its prey. Oh, you want to fight, eh?
Satellite tracking continues.
This is me. That's what I amuse myself with. So yeah. Yeah, she's adorable. I didn't think I would ever be a cat person. But yeah, she stole my heart, or soul, as Algo says. And every once in a while I have to remind myself that I do have people from my real world that I don't know, I went like this from my real world. that watch me. And so it's not going to change how I talk, but just so you know that if you know me from the real world, I'm just me, and these are my, inner thoughts. And it might be shocking. It might be not the way you think, or but I just want to assure I'm still the same person. And so I do appreciate. I'd say now about half a dozen people that know me in real life that watch now, and I forget sometimes. And so if I have offended in any way, it's not my intention. But I just have to express the world the way I see it now, and so. But anyways, okay. Let's see, where are we at? So y'all like Sarah? Yeah, she's huge now. I mean, she's still small for a cat, but when you look at the original video when she's like that tiny kitten, they grow up so fast. Okay, so let's see. But I'm still a dog person, 150%. So just so no one, in case they're watching, I'd hate for my dogs to be upset. I love the cat too, though. Yeah, that was the dogs. Okay. Anyways, let's see, where are we at? Okay. So Jen, if you're still watching, now I can't play the music. Oh, I'd love to. Because I know they like to find things like that and get you for them. But what I will do is, with new eyes. Well, this was sent to me, I believe, by Trevor. Thank you for this. But these people that they've been around in our consciousness, even if we don't know anything about them. Like, for instance, there's been prince and princesses since I've been, around, and the only ones that really stick out in my mind, of course, Princess Diana, because that whole nonsense went down when I was, when she got killed and under the ground and all that stuff. So they had her a lot in front of us. And the only other one I really can remember is this Princess Stephanie, because she was Grace Kelly's daughter. Wink. And then with my new eyes, I'm not someone, again, I don't want to upset people. I'm not body shaming. I'm just saying what I see here. And what I see here, oh, we got to get the music out of here. I don't know. What do you see there? But what I see here, as Jen would say, something ain't right, I think is what she says. You got to hear a minute of her singing. That's her voice. Okay. I don't know. It's just what I see. But that really is Princess Stephanie. I double checked and I looked it up. Okay. Now, to me, I don't see a difference between this. Oops, where? Oh, here, Princess Stephanie. There she is. And how's that different from, well, let's just keep going through her stuff. This is her again. I feel like I'm on Jen's channel now, but that's her. Some pretty broad shoulders she has. Not body shaming. I'm just making that's a true statement. Okay. That's a true statement. And I'm sure she could kick my ass if I said something untrue. Right. She's very lovely there. And there. And then this immediately got me thinking of this. And so this was made so you knew what was going on. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being unkind, but that's what I see there. That's all I'm saying. And then Jen always wants to have the bikini photos. I found these. So there you go, Jen. Have at Princess Stephanie if she's still here. Has very strong back. So, but here's the thing. Even if I'm right that we're questioning this, it doesn't matter. What matters is the deception. It matters if this really isn't who they say it is. They should just come forward, especially in today's day and age, right? We're supposed to be able to come forward and say these things, but then you can say, well, there's people like me talking about it. I'm just upset at the deception. If you're going to pass this off and say that that's Princess Stephanie, well, just come out and tell me the truth. I guess you could say back then it wasn't, you couldn't. But what about now? Like, if we're all being forced to wear sneakers with someone with scars and stuff, and we're being forced to, hear all this controversy over what Target and beer and all this stuff. If we're being forced into that, well, then come forward if this was a deception. That's all I'm saying. I don't care if it was. Well, I mean, I care the deception. I don't care the choice that they made. But that's part of the whole game, is these are the elites. They represent the bafflement, and bafflement represents both. The bafflement has breasts and the phallic symbol because he's mocking God. God created man and a woman, and you can only have creation by connecting the two again. Instead, Satan's world we live in, anyone can be anything. Anyone can be a dog, a bear. They can do whatever they want. But no, it doesn't function that way. And the deception comes from Satan, not from God. What's this? And this one. This was, which lady is this? Shoot, I forget. Oh, look, the actual tweet got deleted. This is another one of these. This is Henry Kissinger's wife. Okay. So I've said, all right, let me double check. Because again, somebody could make this up. So I looked. There's an actual photo of Henry Kissinger and his wife. And I didn't want the old, like, everyone ages. I get that. But this is the young Henry Kissinger and his wife. And here they are again. Now here they are older. So I'm just throwing these out here. Just letting you all look at them. You guys decide. But that's Henry Kissinger's wife. Okay. What's next? Oh, okay. Here, I wanted to get into this. Here, let me stop this for a second. Everybody still with me?
No, thank you.
And just remember, you come here because I actually know nothing.
I know nothing. Nothing.
Oh, and just in case, if you want, I saw you didn't.
Welcome to the party, pal.
All right. What's next? Okay. So one of the things I was talking about, without even talking about quantum effects, let's stop that for a little bit. What about just the fact that they're rewriting history right under our noses? And I started talking about, because I was shocked one time I was doing one of these research things, and Paul Revere, that whole story has completely changed now. They've rewritten it. What I remember as a kid growing up, one if by land, two if by sea, the British are coming, and Paul Revere doing the midnight ride right into Lexington and announcing it and all that. And all that's changed now. He gets captured. They steal his horse. He gives away a lot of the positions. And when he finally does escape, it's over, and he walks into town with no horse. And in fact, the people that do yell it out, they yell the regulars, not the British are coming. So the whole story is being changed right in front of our eyes. And the fact that we no longer have, like I said, people going to the library and looking at research books, they're just doing it online now. Books and everything can be written just with a keystroke that easily. And so the fact that we're we're watching history change. They took down all the statues. I think that's part of the process. And they're changing the history in front of our eyes. Just Columbus alone, when I was growing up, he was a hero. Now he was a loser, that he got lost. He found America, which was supposedly already found by Amerigo Vespucci. That's why it's named after him. And also the Vikings, I think, were here, in addition to whatever we call now the Native Americans or indigenous people. Because where I live, you can't even celebrate, not that I care, but you wouldn't celebrate Columbus Day, you celebrate Indigenous People Day. And I don't even know if you're allowed, if that's the proper name anymore. It honestly keeps changing so much. It's really hard to keep up. And so, but all those stories have changed. And so I came across this article. Let me get rid of Henry Kissinger and his husband. And we'll click here and click here. Clickety click. Okay. And it's right here. Well-known historical stories that sound too good to be true because they're not. Okay, so right off the bat, they start out, because again, another thing that it's like to be done, make everything sexual in this world. It's a way to control people more than any Bible would ever do. Controlling especially men through constant just it's constantly in your face, this sexuality, and it is a way to control men. So of course the first few stories, Catherine the Great died while making love to a horse. Probably nobody knows anything about Catherine the Great, and if you know anything, that's probably the only thing you've heard. These are all non-true. Cleopatra had a sex thing that was powered by bees. I've never even heard of this. It doesn't even make sense to me. But again, just trying to hypersexualize. Lady Godiva rode naked. It's all hypersexual. It's commentary. And then the saying of Marie Antoinette says, "Let them eat cake." They say she never said it, but again, these stories are just kind of ridiculous. And then all of a sudden you get to this. Look, Paul Revere rode through Massachusetts warning the British are coming. Nearly every American hears the story in grade school. How Paul Revere rode his horse across Massachusetts warning the British are coming. While Paul Revere really did carry word to Lexington, the truth is more complicated. See how they're changing it? Here, I'll make this larger. That's what she said. Where is it? He spent part of his journey on a boat. He was just one piece in a large information network. Revere shared the warning, the regulars are coming out of the closet, and was actually captured by British regulars before he even reached Concord. So, like I said, they're rewriting history right under your noses. And for those of you that didn't know this had changed, it's not like it's a quantum effect. They're telling you straight up. And if they're still teaching this to the children in school, my question is why? Why are we continually teaching this incorrect in the schools? Okay. Christopher Columbus voyaged across the Atlantic to prove the earth is round. I think they just threw that one in there to people to prove that, people that believe the earth is not round flying through space are still stupid. And so they throw this article there just for that reason, is what I see. And what the exact shape of the earth is, I don't know. Bible tells me it's covered in a firmament. So does Werner von Braun with the H. He says it on his gravestone. He's the head of NASA. And but it's stationary. It has pillars. It's not moving. It's basically flat, circular shape, I believe. But there's depth to it because there's shale and there's things living in the earth, not us. And then there's heavens and so forth. So there's stuff going on. But yeah. So they threw that in there because I've never heard Christopher Columbus was doing this to prove that. I'd never heard that. Anyways, Mussolini made trains run on time. This was news to me. I didn't even know that was the thing. But yeah, so so apparently he didn't do that. If you always believe that, I had never heard this story. But I did notice he's wearing, this is again one of those, the Maltese cross, and you can look back its origins, and it's this satanic stuff too. So Nero fiddled while Rome burned. How would we know or not know if this happened? Now what they say is he put on the costume of a lute player and recited poetry. It sounds very happy. I kind of like the badass Nero I grew up with that would just sit there and fiddle. There's some people that think that he was the Antichrist during Jesus's return. So that's kind of interesting because, if Jesus came back with fire and mercury or whatever and fried the place, it would make sense why it's burning. We're talking these buildings, some of which are still standing, these cement buildings and stuff, which again, people go, oh, you can't burn bricks, you can't burn cement, couldn't have happened. There's a thing called fervent heat. You have no idea what it is, just like you don't know how tall a tree could be and how much of the earth it actually covered, and if you could survive. You're not living to 500 years. So you're gonna pick and choose what you want to believe in. You can't. And so the whole thing with Nero, most likely, maybe he was watching Revelation. If Rome is burning, it's not because some cow kicked over a lamp. I do not believe that. Not with these buildings that they still have. So what's next? King Tut's tomb had curses on it. So now that's changed? I don't know. But I used to remember everybody around it dying. And that was the whole idea. I knew about curses and stuff. But they say Howard Carter, he told it to the press just to generate buzz, but it had no curse. So whatever. And then they throw in this at the end. And the calamities that befell the folks associated with the tomb have been exaggerated as well. You just say that. How do you know? Anyways, who cares? And then this all of a sudden, now Orson Welles' The War of the Worlds radio broadcast no longer caused widespread panic. I'd always heard that too. So apparently that didn't happen. Apparently people realized it was just a radio broadcast after a minute or so. So anyways. Cordial Rasputin was unkillable. This one I might argue. I think this guy is still in some aspect. I think he's some kind of weird fallen one or demon or God knows what. At least the writings that they talk about. And I think he was into witchcraft and stuff. So I don't know. No bueno. I'd keep a lookout for that just in case. He might come back. This one was fascinating. So the third-class passengers on the Titanic, they were locked behind gates to prevent them from reaching the lifeboats. That was not true, according to this article. All right. Well, let's break this down. That was like one of the saddest moments in Titanic, right? Is when that little family, they can't get out because they're locked behind the thing. It's sad. It's super, super sad. And yet now they're saying that never happened. Okay, let's read this article. So blah, 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 blah. And it says that James Cameron isn't a historian. All right, I'll go with you on that. Third-class passengers on the Titanic. So they're saying it didn't happen. The third-class passengers, they really did have limited access to certain parts of the ship. Okay, so that was true, but not the cage thing. And they may have been locked barriers. Oh, okay, so that was true too. But they didn't happen. But that was due to the laws revolving around the U.S. immigration policies. Oh, okay, so it was probably Trump again. And which stipulated that all immigrants, many of whom were in third class, couldn't mingle with the rest of the passengers before the health screening. Okay? And so the third-class passengers had to move from the bowels of the ship to get the lifeboat. So thanks to the ship's design, the location of their accommodations put them in huge. So basically, the article then says it's not true, but it probably is. Right? That's what I got from it. They had limited access to certain parts of the ship and may have been behind locked barriers. Well, isn't that what they said happened I don't know what happened there. Isn't that what they said happened? So that's what I'm saying. Even with this own article, they contradict themselves. God talks about it. The world's full of hypocrites. It's right here in these news, quote, news articles. Officials at Ellis Island purposely Americanized immigrants' names. I don't know. President Coolidge made a witty remark to a party guest, claims they can get him to talk. I don't know. These are getting kind of ridiculous. Anyways, isn't that something? So I just thought I'd share that. Okay. And Now, I don't know if you're still here, Jen, but, or Shapu. And you guys have probably already covered this. They seem to have already covered everything that I find. But where is it? It's these underground labyrinth that was discovered.
Had opened up a hidden.
Let's see. Where is it? Where's the sound? Kill the sound. But just the tunnel work and stuff that you see in these things. Let's see, where is it? Here. Look at this. What is this doing underground? Why? Oops. What happened? Why is that there? I mean, it looks like a whole like subway system. How huge these caves go to. And I'll throw this in the chat too. And the intricate carvings. So there's a whole civilization that is buried now because of what? This most likely was some kind of heat event, because as we discussed on Jen and Chapu's channel, these are melted. They're squished down from the heat and the pressure of it. I truly don't believe that someone came down here with donkeys and sat and carved this stuff. I'm not buying it. You can see how far down this stuff is. And look at all the brickwork that's done down here. Who's coming down here with bricks and building this stuff? Look at this. Jen and Chapu cover it way better than I do, but just, I find this fascinating. Everything that we've been told is a lie, and we have to try to discern it for ourselves and try to figure it out. And let's see. I think that's it. Yeah. So there was that one, and that is natural pathways. Let's throw that in there. Where are y'all? 200 comments I didn't read. Sorry, I'm not watching the chat, but I'll check it out later. Okay, put it there. And over on Rockfish, we got 6 people. Thank you for being there. And we'll throw that in there. Okay. And let's see. What are we doing? We were here. Okay, so kill that. And then look at this. This is, there's hundreds of tombs at Giza with hieroglyphics.
Tombs at...
Let's see. Same guy. And some of these inscriptions, they say, date back 4,500 years. Okay. Not one mention of the Sphinx. So now even the mainstream scientists are saying the Sphinx was partially flooded and it was already there. So at the times Egyptians arrived. So that sounds to me like someone else carved the Sphinx and it got hit by the flood. Possibly, or a flood. I don't know how many times things might have been reset, but now the historians are even agreeing that the Sphinx was already there. So, and then there's the Kalisha Temple
in
I'll let him say it.
Maharashtra.
This is in India. Look at this. And again, they don't know how they carve these things. There's, to this day. Where is it? Let's come back to it. Look at that. Now, what I see here is melted like wax, as described in the Bible. Whatever has hit this, it melted it down. That's why you see this all kind of looking all, melted ice creamish looking. And they say it was carved out of a single piece of rock. 400,000 tons of rock. And there's no evidence of where they got the rock from or how they got it here. It's the largest monolithic structure in the entire world. And he even says how little study and research is. It's still baffling archaeologists to this day. and they don't even know when it was actually carved. And they say it looks like 3D printed. Isn't that interesting? Carved out of a single piece of rock to create this. Look at this inside here. Look at this. There's no trace of the excavated rocks within 50 kilometers from the site. So, how are they building this? That's why I'm saying the old world, the Bible world, was crazier than they tell us. And I think some of these things existed then, and we're digging them out because they got buried in the flood. I could be completely wrong, but I can't prove my side, and neither can you. So, Bible bashers bash away. I'm not here to bash anything. I'm just here to tell you, I believe our world is being run right now by Satan. I believe that the only way out of it is to find God through Jesus, and he'll be coming back again. And until then, live your life, love thy neighbor as thyself, find God if you haven't. If you don't want to read the Bible, well, maybe I'll help you read it for you. But you need to read it yourself because you can't do it without that. You have to do it on your own. There's so many channels that want to read you the Bible, and they usually do it from an angry position. Everyone's so angry on the YouTube. It's very bizarre to me. And I think that's because they don't have God in their heart. Because when you get saved, whatever you want to call it, I just hate all the buzzwords. When you make your connection with God, it changes you. And then he exists and you can talk to him. It's not like I have a conversation like I'm having, well, kind of like I'm having with you because I'm talking and you can't talk back to me. But no, you feel his presence in your life. And I'm not saying that you get rewarded for doing good things. But what I am saying is you start to see blessings and you'll see them more frequently. This is my experience. Because if you have, say, 2 children and one's acting up and one isn't, who's getting the candy and who isn't? So I'm not saying that's why you do it. But I'm saying there is, like when Solomon asked for wisdom, he got other things in with that. And so what I ask for, I think you all should. Ask for wisdom, ask for patience and understanding. Because all these things are gone right now in our world. And so we need more people that feel this way and that think this way. Not saying we all can't get hot, but we need to be able to put ourselves in check, and we need to be able to control. The devil's going to try to mess with you at your Achilles heel. Whatever you think that thing is that affects you that you can't control, that's where he's going to hit you. And those are the areas you need to pray on harder. And the power of prayer does do something. It truly does. We just are taught not to do it. And so I feel there's a few different ways you can do it. I mean, this is the way I look at it. I talk to God, no problem. And then there's other times when I make it more important. There's even times, as you say, they put your face to the floor in the postulate position because I feel a reverence to it. I'm pretty sure anybody, if we actually had a theater with God standing in front of us, would be frightened out of their minds. Because Moses said that he was hoping God didn't say any more words because it was terrifying. As he came down, he was glowing, his hair was white. And then you got, who's the other person I was thinking of that talked about this? But I know that there's times when God does appear and people just feel worthless and unworthy. And that's coming from our own minds because God loves us. He created us. He loves us who we are. He knows all the right and wrong that we've done. He just wants to see us do right because the system that we're in, sin equals death. And that's just the way it is. And he can't change it. He has to show us the way to change our own hearts. And then he changes it when Jesus comes in. And so I'll do some of these other prayers, very reverent type, because out of respect, because I see all the blessings. I see all the things that he's done over the years when I didn't even know he was there. And he's running everything, and he's doing an amazing job. And so I'll use respect. I won't call him buddy or anything like that. It's God. Father, that's what I like to use. I know the Jewish words, or Hebrew, I should say. I don't always feel comfortable using those. So, and then when I think about Jesus, that's the word that was in the Bible. That's the word that I'm familiar with, and that's the word I use. There's some people that use Yeshua or something, and I get that. That's fine in my mind too. But it's just when you get all like cool about it and stuff, it seems disingenuous. Because if God was standing right in front of you, I don't think there's any way you'd call him, pal. Hey, pal, how's it going? I just don't feel that. And, but that's just me. And I'm relatively new at this. However, I have been following and reading the scriptures because I find them fascinating. And the more I do it, the more I like reading it, and learning about our history. Because there are people that try to tell you that this book, wherever's mine, it's over there, is a way to control people. I've heard it all. And I don't see it that way because I made my connection without it. What I can find is read the books of Kings or Chronicles. They all go through our history. And there's many passages that go over lineage of who begat who begat who begat who. And it's so boring when you're reading it. But now I understand why it's in there. It's in there so we can have that lineage, so we know our history. Because you go to all these history books and they keep changing. And I know I talk about how the Bible's been, manipulated, but the basic messages are still there. The God I know, he can make sure that his message, it's the living word. It's in you. It's in your heart. It's not written on that piece of paper. It changes. But the living word you can get out of that book. You can pick it up and you can open it to a passage and it's going to help you with what you're dealing with. I mean, that's the way I see it happening. And so it truly is, I believe, a way to help you understand it. And the covenant that we live in now, yeah, there's still the laws of Moses you can follow, the 10 commandments on the tables instead of the tablets. But he always said that those were for people that were sinning. They weren't for people that were trying to live righteous because they already know those things were bad. If you're living with God in your heart, you just know those things are bad. Now, if you're not understanding it, that list is there to help you. But then I was watching Vlad, that one pastor that I like, and he was covering this on his channel. And he was mentioning, if you want to follow the laws of Moses, if you want to live that, biblical life, fine. But then you can't pick and choose. So if one of the commandments is you have to celebrate Sabbath, and they, at least for now, everyone's telling me it's on Saturday. He's like, but are you now following all of them? Because, excuse me, I think it was every 7 years, you're not allowed to do anything on your land. And I think it was every, 30 years or 70 years or something, you give it away to whoever originally owned it. I mean, there's a lot of weird laws that we don't follow anymore. All the burnt offerings and sacrifices in the Old Testament, we don't do those anymore. That's an homage all the way back to Adam, because he would light incense and stuff because he wanted to try to feel that connection back with God. It used to be you walked with God and he was with you in the whole thing. Then we got thrown out of the garden, that connection got lost. And so it was a way that he could connect to the heavens and try to, earn his way back in. He kept trying to get back in, but God said there's a certain amount of time you got to wait. And then when Jesus shows up, he was the final sacrifice. So the fact that there are people in certain lands that are still cutting up animals and burning them and offering and stuff, that's not supposed to be happening. This is the way I understand it in the new covenant. The new covenant that we have through the blood of Jesus, that stopped. And so if you read the writings of Paul, which is another person that now apparently there's controversy that I've, heard about. In the beginning, I didn't understand it, but now I think I kind of do. Basically, it goes like this. There was a guy named Saul. He saw, it was right after Jesus got crucified, and there was this young man that was still preaching his teachings, and they stoned him to death. And I think his name was Stephen. And Saul witnessed it, and he took up this charge, and he went around killing and persecuting people that taught like Jesus. And then he's on the road to Damascus, and this is where people, start having an issue with him. But he's met by Jesus, and he's like, Paul or Saul, like, what are you doing? You're doing this wrong. And he changes his name to Paul, and he closes his eyes, and he's like, you got to go into this town and find this prophet, and he'll fix you up. The guy, I think, actually takes like bird crap and sticks it on his eyes and heals him or something. But I could have that wrong, but there is one story like that. But he has this he becomes a saint, and he goes to hang out with the other saints, and they don't want to hang out with them. Why? Because he used to go around killing people like them, and killing them specifically, maybe even. So understandably so, there's a little division. And then he goes off kind of on his own with like a couple other guys, and then they finally leave him, and he's just by himself. I envision Paul being very lonely. But I also believe that God separates sometimes people for a cause, for a reason. Because he was so alone, and because at one point he gets thrown in prison, he's got time to write. And he basically writes like most of the second half of the Bible. And he's got all these letters that he writes to all these different kingdoms and stuff, some of his kids and stuff, trying to make them understand these teachings. And so there's people that have issue with him. They say he made it up, he wasn't a saint. And there's people that say, whatever. Here's my way of thinking. The writings and the teachings of Paul, they're some of the most wonderful parts of the Bible. And so whatever the story is, I truly believe he met Jesus as he said. I truly believe he was anointed by him, because there's just too much of the back end of the Bible that has Paul in it for me to think the whole thing was just inserted by some megalomaniac or whatever they think of Paul. And his teachings are the ones like, here, let me bring this up. Okay. Ephesians. Let's see. See, you can read any of these, and they can resonate with anyone, I think. And you hath he quickened who were dead in trespasses and sins, should say deaths, wherein times past ye walked according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, so we're talking about tonight, and the spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience. And so he's talking about how, just like in the past, there's nothing new under the sun. We're still doing the same thing over and over, following in the history of our ancestors walking in disobedience. But this is it right here. God, who is rich in mercy, for his great love wherein he loved us. Even when we are dead in sins, he quickened us together with Christ, and by grace you are saved. Winky face. All these winky faces coming in. There's another winky face. We covered one last week in Galatians, and here's another one. I'll just let that go. But that's what he's talking about. He's telling you that he knows that you've sinned. He knows you're doing, to this day, maybe you're doing stuff. He loves you. He's merciful, and we are all saved. How? By his grace. Doesn't matter how good of a person you are, or how much you feel that you read the Bible more than other people, or how much you know the Bible. It doesn't matter. All of us are only saved by his grace. That's it. And so that's part of these teachings is that you learn is that there is something about faith. It's not imaginary. It's things that you can't see. I know I can breathe in air even if I can't see it. I have faith that it's there. You have to have faith in God, and it works. Because it says, if a man be overtaken in a fault, ye which are spiritual, restore such a one in the spirit of meekness, considering thyself, lest thou also be tempted. I know it's hard to read if you're not used to reading in this kind of English, but he's saying that if you're seeing a brother that's falling and you're spiritual, you've got to help restore him in the spirit of meekness, because also you could be tempted by the same thing that he's falling behind on. And this is the way I hear it. And you need to bear one another's burdens and fulfill the law of Christ. For a man, if he think himself to be something when he is nothing, he deceiveth himself. But let every man prove his own work, and then he shall have rejoicing himself alone and not in another. For every man shall bear his own burden. And he talks about that. In the end, the only person you can save is yourself. Now, that doesn't mean to help others, but they have to figure it out for themselves, and then they can be saved. So you can help with that process. But in the end, they have to make the conscious decision. And then how are they saved? By the grace of God. That's it. Doesn't matter how much you pray. Doesn't matter how much you read the Bible. It doesn't matter how much you think you're doing good deeds. You have to be within God's good grace. It's his ball. He does what he wants. But if you're following the things that he's teaching or that Jesus is teaching, well, everyone's going to be happy. You're going to be happy inside. The people that you're helping are going to be happy. And God's going to be pleased because you're actually not following in your ancestors of disobedience. You're not praying to Moloch and Thor and all these other imaginary gods that live underground. There's only one God, and all he wants is a little acknowledgement, a little recognition, a little love. That's it. That's all he's ever asked from us. We can't give him anything else. He has everything. He makes it all. Be not deceived. God is not mocked. For whatever man soweth, that so shall he also reap. So, for he that soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption. But he that soweth the Spirit shall reap life everlasting. So, where is it? Is there another shot here I'll hit you with? About the circumcision. As many desire to make a fair show in the flesh, they constrain you to be circumcised, only lest they should suffer the persecution for the cross of Christ. For neither themselves or they who are circumcised keep the law, but desire to have you circumcised, that they may glory in your flesh. But God forbid that I should glory save in the cross of our Lord Jesus Christ, by whom the world is crucified unto me, and I unto the world. For in Christ neither circumcision availeth anything, nor uncircumcision, but a new creature. And as many that walk according to this rule, peace be on them, and mercy upon the Israel of God. I don't know about that line, but from henceforth let no man trouble me, for I bear in the body the marks of Lord Jesus. Brethren, the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ be with your spirit. Amen. So he's saying there, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what you were told in the past of what you were. Doesn't matter if you're clipped or unclipped. None of that matters. God circumcises your heart. All that rest of the stuff was for an old time that we're not dealing with anymore. If you're not sacrificing heifers, you don't need to worry about what the situation is downstairs. Because once you make this connection, it circumcises in here. That's why when the words change in the book, I see it. It's because it's written in my heart. It's going to change. He says that. That's in the Bible too. There'll be a day when we'll look for the word of God. It'll be a famine in the land. It'll be for the word, not for food or water. And I believe it's happening. We can still read it. And I think, like I said, I encourage everyone to read it. But just know there's going to be things in it that are going to make you go, well, that sounds weird. And so that's the way I see it. And what's this last one? Let's see, Corinthians. I think, let's see. Yeah, this is talking about offering things unto idols and sacrifice. We kind of covered that already. So, okay. So there you go. That's the that's Bible Light, I guess, for those of you that are not reading it. Just know that there's so many channels ad nauseum that'll tell you not to read it, or that'll read it just to like decipher words and stuff. That's not how you read it. Their stories are amazing. There's action, there's violence, there's love interest, there's everything you'd see or in a good movie or a good book, because most of them plagiarize the Bible. But in addition to that, you'll learn your history and you'll start to feel different. You'll understand the teachings. Because I'm not a Bible thumper that's going to sit here on screen and say, if you don't read this or you don't do that, you're going to hell. That's not for me to decide. Judge lest ye be not judged and not in something, right? This keeps changing. But that's not for me to decide. I'm put here to tell you my experiences and what I'm seeing happening in the world and how my relationship with God has helped me and how reading that book has helped us. And so that's it. You have to make your own decision to take time. You can't find time to read it. You have to make time. And it's also not easy. You can pick up any novel and have no problem. You can watch any movie and have no problem staying up to ridiculous hours. You pick up the Bible, it's like almost immediately you start yawning. There's something about it that it's almost made to make it more difficult to get into it. But if you can figure a way to do it and make some time, and to talk about the whole Sabbath thing, this is the way I see Sabbath. Because God even talks about times when Jesus said, he had to help someone on a Sabbath, or would you let your sheep go off lost if it was on a Sabbath? He says there are reasons why you don't, hold that special day, that particular day. But the way I see Sabbath is this. It's time with God. He wants you to take time off. He rested a day. He wants us to rest it. Why? Because slaves don't get that. And so it's one way to prove that you're still free. And it's a way to honor God. And I feel that, let's say you have to work. Let's say they tell you it's supposed to be Saturday. What if you work on the weekends? So pick a different day where you just spend time. If you don't want to sit and read the Bible, spend time outside and talk to God or something. But try to do it without having like headphones on or iPods, or try not to sit and do Netflix binge or whatever your vice is. Turn off the electronics, take your shoes off, spend time outside, hug a tree. I don't know, all those things. But Sabbath to me is to spend time glorifying, honoring God, and being thankful for what we have. Because no matter what struggle you're feeling or how alone you might be, there's things to be grateful for. And we need to remember that. We need to look at those things. The glass half full, not half empty. And so I guess at that point, I think my glass is mostly empty.
That's very true.
And I've done a lot of Bible talk and stuff, but it's important. And I really encourage my audience or anyone that is listening to look into it, and don't get turned off by the naysayers and the angry Bible readers. They're doing it wrong. It's a fascinating book. It's nothing to be fearful of, and it's nothing to put above God. Like, don't make that your God. Okay, but it's very helpful. Basic instructions before leaving Earth. So yes. Okay. Anyways, I hope we had fun tonight, and we had a lot of people here, and I still do, and thank you very much. I hope I entertained and gave you some information. And to anybody that's listening, the sound of my voice, your Father in heaven, please watch over us and guide us through these times. Continue to fill us up with your wisdom. Continue to give us the patience, the understanding, the love and forgiveness that we want from you. Help us understand it in our hearts so we can help others and be loving and forgiving and understanding when they don't see the world the way we do. Please continue to show us your mercy with blessings. Watch over us, protect us and our loved ones, help us heal, guide us through these times. We ask this of our Father in heaven through the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Okay, that's all I got. You are entertained? Excellent. Good eye. Okay, good. So, thanks. Great stuff. Thank you. That's very sweet. I'm glad you made it too. So, and I don't know how you got blocked, but it wasn't me, and I'm glad you're unblocked. So if anyone has a thing like that, let me know, and I'll work on it. So, okay, and pray. All right. So with that, where's my guy? You get this.
Class is dismissed.
And then what some people call the saddest song on the internet. But God willing, let's do this again. I'll see you around the playground, and everyone have a wonderful, blessed night. Good night. Where is it? Boom.